Austin Tech Connect is the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council. Founded in 1992, ATC exists to help unite the local technology ecosystem and to encourage the spread of community, collaboration, and conversations in Central Texas. This podcast is sponsored by SailPoint. They are a leading provider of identity security for the modern enterprise, empowering organizations worldwide to put identity security at the core of their business. With a foundation of artificial intelligence and machine learning, SailPoint Identity Security delivers the right access to the right identities and resources at the right time. Now, here is this week's episode.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Austin Tech Connect. This is the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council. My name is Tom Singer, and I have been with the Austin Technology Council now for 2 years, and we're doing a lot of interesting things. And in fact, last night, before we recorded this episode, we hosted the first annual Austin Tech Hall of Fame and First Time Founder Award reception. This is a brand new event that the Austin Technology Council launched this year so that we could honor the past and celebrate the people who helped build Austin into the amazing tech hub that it is today. We also can be present in the now as we look to what's going on around our tech community, and we can be mindful of the future because we're moving forward and Austin's best days are ahead of us. So last night we had this event, and today on this episode, we are actually joined by Ashley Rose. She is the first winner of the First Time Founder Award. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
We are also joined by Mike Siegel. Now, Mike is one of our board members here at the Austin Technology Council, but his organization, his company, VUp, also was one of the sponsors of last night's event. In fact, they were the sponsor for the First Time Founder Award. So, Mike, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Tom.
So, Mike, let's start with you. Why did you decide, let's sponsor a first-time event? Let's sponsor part of this Hall of Fame / First-Time Founder Award reception.
Yeah, you know what? It was a no-brainer for me. I mean, first of all, I've been privileged to serve this Austin Tech community for 4 years as a board member on ATC. We've been a part of figuring out how are we going to make ATC relevant in the years forward. ATC has a wonderful legacy heritage, but we've been looking as a board and with you, Tom, to really put a stamp down for where ATC is going to be going forward. And this Hall of Fame event, in my mind, is a keystone event for us this year and in the years ahead. And the First Time Founder Award really is an acknowledgement of where the future is going. My firm, VUp, is all about helping startups scale up. We support founders with technical, business, talent, and funding support in those really critical scale-up years, maybe as they're coming out of an accelerator program, before they've gotten those later rounds of VC funding, and providing them with a limitless infrastructure and 360-degree support so that they can continue to grow and become fundable. And so, again, it was a no-brainer for us. First Time Founder Award is about acknowledging the entrepreneurs here in Austin who are doing it right. And we wanted to associate our brand with that and support ATC along the way.
Well, ATC is very thankful to VUp for being a sponsor. We're looking to build this event year over year, and we're hoping that you and our other sponsors will help us do that going forward. So in addition to the First Time Founder Award, the Austin Tech Hall of Fame last night inducted 8 foundational / legacy inductees who were some of these people who really helped Austin become Austin. However, there's not just 8. There's probably 50 or 60 people who need to be in the Hall of Fame. But the one thing I realized as we were coming up with the concept and looking at it, you can't drop 60 names.
Right.
You can't drop them all at once at a cocktail party, or we would have been there all night.
Exactly.
And you also can't really start with one name. ATC actually did that several years ago. They came up with the idea, and Bill Wood, venture capitalist who was involved with so many companies here, was the first person inducted in 2013. And then there was a staff change, and nobody ever did the Hall of Fame again. So when I was planning this, I thought I should really Google Austin Tech Hall of Fame to make sure no other organization ever did it.
Right.
I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. And it turned out it was our organization that did it. So Bill Wood is actually part of the Austin Tech Hall of Fame, little asterisk, 2013 inductee. And then every year we'll continue to add 8 foundational inductees and 1 current inductee. So the 2024 inductee was Joyce Durst from Growth Acceleration Partners. And so she was announced last night.
Deserving.
Oh, so deserving. She's done so much for the community, 35 years working in tech. She's done a lot. Her company is continuing to grow, very big on helping women and other minority groups that haven't necessarily been represented in tech. She's really done great things. And then there were the 8 foundational members. And for those of you who've been around Austin for 20 plus years, some of these names they're just the royalty of Austin.
Yes, they are.
And while there's many more that need to be added, these 8, it was really special. John Butler, Michael Dell, Lori Hawkins, Bobby Inman, Laura Kilcrease, George Kosmetsky, Jimmy Trebig, and James Truchard.
It was such a memorable night, Tom. Having been associated with ATC for a few years now, this event was unlike anything else we've done. It was so heartfelt. The energy in the room was incredible. Everyone was joyous to be here last night. And the networking obviously was terrific. But to be able to acknowledge these folks who helped build Austin into what it is today, and for them to provide us with insights into how they made that happen. And every one of them was just so magnanimous and pointing to the fact that Austin's best days are ahead of us. And clearly having the First Time Founder Award is a very clear signal that is true, right? And we will have this ceremony for years to come. Of course, we hope that will be the case. But again, last night was just terrific. And I think we set a really good precedent for where we're going.
And I think joyous is just a great word to describe the evening. We had almost 200 people in a space that probably was designed to hold about 170. So it was a tight squeeze, but it just made it more fun. Everybody was glad to be there. And we had people from sort of all the eras of Austin. We had people from 4 and 5 decades ago. Bobby Inman,
right?
When he got up and spoke, you could hear a pin drop.
Absolutely.
As they were talking about sort of those early days of how MCC even chose Austin as the place, to come, which actually sparked so much of the tech growth. And then to hear from John Butler talking about so many things and the people who really made it happen. And Laura Kilcrease, she came in from Canada to receive her award. It was so interesting because everybody who spoke, including Jimmy Trebig's son, who was able to speak for him. Jimmy was recovering from some surgery, but he was there.
That was very moving, by the way.
Oh, it was very moving. He wrote some words to address the crowd, and his son read them. But what was so interesting from all of them, they all touched on the people.
Yes, they did.
And how that was really the secret sauce that allowed Austin to thrive. And I think that's our future. We cannot lose sight of the fact that there's a time and a place where we have to come together, leave our agendas and our egos at the door, and just be glad to be part of this tech community. And I think last night was one of those parties. And so you had those people from long ago. You also had people from 10 and 15 years ago who had founded companies. And there were a lot of people in the room who've only been in Austin tech for 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
Or less. And so it was one of those magical nights. So, I'd like to go over to you, Ashley. What was it like for you, being one of those people who's been here less time, and we'll get sort of into your bio here in a second. What was it like to be part of this event?
Yeah, well, first, I'd like to say that I was truly honored by the award, and definitely I'm standing on the shoulder of giants. It was really exciting to just be with such special people, such legends in the community. I think I bring a different perspective because when I thought about moving to Austin, Austin already had that reputation. Like, it was the reputation that actually drew me here. And then I've been able to experience it firsthand. So when I walked into the room, what was really moving for me was looking around 200 people. I actually knew so many faces, people that have been part of our journey, even though it's been only 6 years, which to me feels like forever. With all of these other, company owners in the room, they've been in business 20, 30 years. 6 is like a little drop in the bucket, but so many people in the room have been part of our journey, part of the community, and it was really special for me to also be standing alongside of them.
No, it was great. So I want to get into talking to you a little bit about your company and your journey. For those of you who don't know Ashley Rose, she is the CEO of a cybersecurity software company called Living Security. And what her job is as CEO is she sets all the strategy. She works with the team. She does the fundraising. And she makes sure that all the ducks are in a row to keep this business moving forward. She's also the mother of 3 girls. And so she's very busy in all aspects of her life. And sort of her favorite thing that she does with the company is making sure that her company can help help other companies solve complex problems that they really didn't know that they could find a fix for. And so I want to find out a little bit more about what that means. So Ashley, tell us about your career journey. Where'd you get started? You're a graduate of the University of Michigan. Let's talk about, from college forward. How'd you get started in your career? What all did you do?
I went to school for business marketing, surprise. What I really learned about myself through my life was I loved solving problems. You touched on it about one of the favorite things that I get to do as a CEO is to help other companies solve one of their most important problems, which I think we'll touch on in a little bit. But I love solving problems. And throughout my career, I've done that in areas of business, marketing, operations, finance. I've told a lot of people I've gone kind of a mile wide and inch deep. I actually got my first job in technology here in Austin. So after we moved, I started working for a company called American Campus. And that's where I grew my technology career. I ended up working in product management, which was a great fit for me because product people are working with business people and technologists to help them solve problems and kind of close the gap in communication. And I absolutely loved that position. And it was through my experience at that company working on an identity system alongside Drew, who was building their cybersecurity program, that our career paths really joined. And I think we'll talk about Drew here momentarily. Our career paths really meshed together. We both brought a unique set of skills to the endeavor and launched Living Security about 6 years ago.
And you said last night in your acceptance speech, right, that you're one of these people who sort of started it in the garage, but you said you can't start a business in a garage in Austin, Texas, because it's going to be 120 degrees in that garage in the summer. So you actually started it in like one of your child's bedrooms? What was the story?
Yeah, so I said playroom, and that is accurate. So we had a little loft upstairs. That's where all the kids' toys were. And we're like, sorry, kids, we need some office space. So we kicked them downstairs, and we built IKEA desk furniture, lined the walls. We put a couch that had a pull-out bed there. So when some early employees were working up all night, they actually slept on the couch. So, I mean, a very true, I've seen Silicon Valley, the show, if you've seen it, that kind of was us, but in the playroom upstairs. So that was our journey.
That's awesome. So let's talk about how the company started. I know that what you started with as your focus, you've pivoted from. So let's talk about the early days of Living Security. What was the purpose of the company? What was the mission? What did you do?
So the vision of Living Security has remained unchanged since day one. Drew and I both saw that one of the biggest risks for organizations is their human risk. It's their employees. It's what they're doing online, how they're interacting with their email, what they're doing with data. Are they complying with policy? And the way that the industry was solving that, we believed was completely wrong. Essentially, they adopted a very compliance-oriented mindset, and so people were going through annual compliance training once a year, kind of clicking through it. It oftentimes was a joke. We see memes being shared on Slack and otherwise, sending some phishing emails, and companies called themselves secure and sort of moved on. And we really saw two main issues with that approach. The first was, these are people, right? We can't shove people through a dry, boring training and expect them to take anything away or actually change their behavior. And so step one for us was, how do we apply some learnings from behavioral science, from learning science, and actually start approaching people in a way where cybersecurity is more approachable, it's consumable, it's engaging, and it is memorable for these employees. So it sticks with them and they can make different choices, take different actions. So that was part one. And we can talk about what that looked like. Part two for us, though, also from day one, was outside of compliance metrics. Did somebody complete a training? There was no way to measure the ROI of your program. Is this actually working? Are people changing behavior? Is risk reducing for the organization? So that was the big goal, was how could we use data and metrics to effectively quantify human risk so we could take a more targeted approach to mitigating it and then produce measurable results, give CISOs and security leaders an ROI.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about part one. How was it that you got people to engage and learn and do the right thing?
Yeah, so this story, I think, good intersection to bring Drew into the mix.
And Drew is your husband.
Drew is my husband.
And so you started the company with your husband with 3 little kids at home. First of all, before we get to this, let's just ask this question. What's it been like working that closely with your husband? Some people would be like, I can't do that.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. And sometimes I like to respond like, I don't know how you work with someone that's not your spouse. Because when you're founding a company, it's all consuming. You eat, sleep, and breathe this thing. And so actually having someone by your side that understood that, both in the family and then the work context, not only made it easier to be all consumed by the company, but to really cover down for each other. Like, we had the same goal and the same mission. We wanted to grow this business. We wanted to build a great team. We wanted to solve hard problems, but we also wanted to care for our family. So it actually made it a lot easier for us, and a lot more got done, I would say, probably in the earlier days than otherwise.
Nice. So you were about to say, before I interrupted you, this is where we bring Drew into the story. So what was it all that you were doing in those phase one?
Yes. So when Drew and I were both working at American Campus, he was building their cybersecurity program, and basically threw out the training solution that they had in place. And it was his perspective that if he could make training fun, people would come and talk to him. They would report incidents. Security would no longer be the no team, but
guys.
approachable. Exactly, the bad guys. So he started designing board games and ultimately created a cybersecurity escape room that he brought into the organization. And for me, my perspective was a little different, right? I'm at home and I'm like, why are you building all these games? Like, what is all of this about? But when he actually brought the escape room and the games to the organization, as a recipient of the program, I was actually able to see the impact that it had on the organization and the culture. And that was my aha moment. I was like, wow, this stuff is working. And through that experience, my business brain lit up, and I said, well, if this is working here, could it also work in other organizations? And so that kicked off, a market research trip to Black Hat. If you've ever been to Black Hat, it's crazy. But interviewing a lot of CISOs and saying, hey, what's the problem with your program? And there, everybody kept saying, like, it's not engaging. People are turning off. I can't get through to my employees. And so we decided to take that initial escape room idea and then bring it to the market. And so our first phase into the company was actually, we packed up these suitcase-like objects, and we were going on site to organizations, set in a conference room like this, setting up a cybersecurity escape room and training their employees through a very immersive and hands-on experience.
So they couldn't get out till they solved the problem.
That's right. We locked them in there.
Nice. So I imagine this was great, but then we had this little thing called COVID. And you can't go on site and lock a bunch of people in a conference room. So how did COVID impact the company?
That was very challenging. And hopefully he'll remember this, but our investor, we actually were raising capital at this time as well. So at that point, we had just launched our first version of our online tool. We wanted to bring this online, but we only had a few customers on at the time. It was growing really quickly, but still a big portion of our business was that online, the in-person piece. And we were raising capital. And I remember COVID hit, and I went for a walk, with social distancing with my investor, and he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to bring this thing online. And so it was a crazy time, but we went home, we designed, a completely virtual experience that emulated what we did in person. And we were able to, in a matter of 6 months, transition 80% of our in-person clients into an online version.
Wow, that is really impressive. Being somebody who worked in a business that was all in person and watched it go to zero, to be able to transfer that many people to an online version, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the company moments, right? It's one of the company stories that even when we're onboarding new team members, it was it was a true representation of, if you build a great culture, you have people rowing in the same direction, you can get so much done so quickly. And it's one of the advantages of being small and nimble. Like, you can just pivot, as well, I wouldn't say on a dime, but very quickly.
So you bring up an interesting thing, and you talk about culture. I know that's really important to your company. And I didn't know you before you were nominated for the First Time Founder Award. And so, I had to kind of cull through all the nominations and do homework on everybody before I brought it to the board for voting. And one of the things I found was culture's a big part of Living Security, and it's a big part of who you are. So let's talk about why that culture matters. Besides being able to pivot in a pandemic, why does culture matter so much to you?
So, I mean, this was an example of why culture is so important. And one of the things, I think what I'd love to talk about is how we actually live that out at Living Security. And so one of the things that's really important to all team members, to myself, and it starts in the interview process, is I want everybody to have a personal connection to the mission. Like, truly, I believe we are solving really important problems for organizations, and not only for the corporations, but for the individual employees that work there, right? We're living in a very digital environment, and everyone needs to know how to interact and operate securely online. And that goes from corporations all the way down to families and communities. And so I've really challenged every team member to figure out, what is it for you that matters? Is it that your grandparents or your parents, still don't know how to operate securely online? Is it that you love building innovative solutions and that's a huge driver, but you want to solve problems here? So I challenge everybody to have a personal connection to the mission. So when things get hard, you can remind them why we're here. And that has to go beyond a paycheck. It has to go beyond the 9 to 5. There's many other things. We love to have fun. We're very innovative. But I would say, the escape room example of how do we go online, it started with, hey guys, our clients can't reach their employees. They're now at home. They're now outside of the four walls of their corporate environments. They're operating online, and this is the first time ever for many of them. How can we help them do that securely? And just by putting that mission out there, people, they wanted to get it done, and they worked hard to do it.
So nowadays, the company does even more than that. So what is Living Security all about now? What are you doing now that's so exciting?
So we were very excited as the company grew. We were able to raise more capital. We got a lot of amazing companies working alongside of us. And back in, after some tremendous growth in 2020, we went out to raise a Series B in 2021. And the intention of the Series B was to help us pursue part 2 of the vision, right? How do we provide data and metrics and quantifications around human risk so we can be more proactive in our response? And so we named and built a category that we call human risk management, and it does exactly that. It uses data that already exists in all of these disparate systems and technologies, and it brings them together as a single pane of glass for user risk, for human risk. We give every user a risk score, and then based on those insights and risk scores, organizations can be more targeted in their approach for mitigation. And that can be through training. It can also be through policy administration, through technology and controls, and stronger governance across their business. And so that's our focus today. Something very, very exciting is, as when we renamed this category, we said, this is important because this is no longer the compliance mindset of training and phishing. This is something that's so much more important and strategic. We went on a mission and we said we want the industry to recognize this for what it is, right? This is a risk management function. And so we spent a lot of time with the analyst community, with the corporations, with the practitioners, really talking about educating around human risk management. And now we've seen our analyst community rename the industry, or the part of the industry. So human risk management is the category that we're operating in. We've seen our competitors adopt the naming. We've seen even our practitioners change titles and change their department scope. And it's amazing to watch this shift, this organizational and market shift around what we set out to do 6 years ago. So we're in pursuit of that vision. We're still, kind of grinding every day. Whenever you're creating a category, there's a lot that goes into it, but it's very exciting and it's very rewarding.
So I think for everybody listening, I don't think anybody has any doubt why you are the first recipient of the First Time Founder Award from the Austin Technology Council. I mean, wow to everything that you're doing. So Mike, you've actually been in the cybersecurity world for 20 years or something like that.
That's right.
So when you look at this company, and you look at Drew and at Ashley, what do you have to add?
Yeah, so I've gotten to know Ashley and Drew now for a few months and have had an opportunity to kind of take a look inside the company, and I've been thoroughly impressed with how the two of them and their team has really attacked this new category of human risk management, and it's sorely needed. There are a lot of point product tools in the cybersecurity world, literally hundreds of even thousands out there, and they all serve a purpose and they all have value. But the ability to correlate data, to understand how behavior and context is impacting the risk associated with individual people, and then having the ability to mitigate that risk by providing targeted learning or making adjustments to some of the point products that are already deployed in an organization, that's powerful stuff, Tom. That's the makings of a cybersecurity giant. And I think Living Security has the opportunity to do that. Being a category leader or defining a category is hard work. Ashley's absolutely right about that. You're trying to change perspectives and minds, but they've made great traction in a fairly short amount of time to get to this point. And my belief is that this company has great potential ahead of them. They're going to continue to provide some of the biggest enterprises in the world with this capability. And frankly, the sky's the limit.
Nice. So, Ashley, what advice do you have for other people who are kicking their kids out of their playroom and they're saying to their spouse, let's go all in, let's start a company? What do you know now that you wish you knew then that is advice you could share with other entrepreneurs?
This is something I think we did well. So I'm just going to share this. Get in the market. Get to your customer. One of the advantages of that in-person training that I think looking back on it now, we can really recognize is that we spent countless hours interviewing, asking these customers, what are your pain points? What if this existed? And they were able to give us that direct feedback. So I would say, stay connected to your market, stay connected to your customers, like really lean into the product and, iterate quickly. Building a strong culture and really understanding a problem can get you so far.
Nice. Well, and we had said earlier that you've been here 6 years and you chose Austin because it was this entrepreneurial hub, right? So when you look at Austin from sort of fresh eyes, 6 years isn't very long. When we look at our tech community, goes back 50 plus years. When you look at Austin, what do you see now? What are we doing right? What do you wish we were doing different? What's the good, the bad of Austin's tech scene, and where do you think we're going?
Yeah, I love Austin. I love the community. I love the culture here. As you said, when I came here, I feel like it was already very vibrant. I got very connected in through places like Capital Factory, and they were just so welcoming. And everybody you meet just wants to help all the time, and I love that. Like everybody's willing to take a coffee. Or I ran into a very prominent investor here, and she gave me her scheduling link and said, "Hey, find 30 minutes." And that's what's so amazing about Austin. I don't think that this is everywhere, is that truly, like, despite anybody's success or, where they are on their journey, like, we're always willing to look back and help each other. And I saw that yesterday in the room. So what are we doing wrong? That's so hard. That's super hard. I think we're doing so many things right. We're seeing a lot of more capital come to Austin. I think that is really strong because even 6 years ago, like there wasn't the capital options on the table. I'm very lucky to have found amazing investors, but I spent a lot of time in the Valley. I spent a lot of time, traveling around. So I think having more capital in the city is going to be really, really important for the future growth of the ecosystem. Look, software and SaaS has been really challenging over the last couple of years. There's a big drive to, efficiency and, profitable companies. And I think that that's really powerful, but it's also really hard. So I think we need to recognize some of the challenges that come with that and provide some more tools and resources for organizations that are starting up maybe outside of the ZERP era, and that where there's been kind of free flowing capital. I would say that'd be my biggest ask for the community.
Nice. Mike, what about you? What do you think is great about Austin, and where do you think we have to watch for some tweaks?
Yeah, so first in a non-business context, I think one of the best things about Austin, which a lot of people who maybe haven't spent time here or have a certain perception of Texas, is really how diverse Austin is, not only culturally, but the geography, right? The landscape, right? So go on a hike, go to Emma Long Park and go on a hike on Turkey Creek, get on a paddleboard, get on Lady Bird Lake or Lake Austin, and really enjoy the outside here. Obviously, the culinary scene here is also tremendous, and those of us who live here, we probably share secrets about the latest hot restaurant that just opened up, and that's a lot of fun. So culturally speaking, I think if you're an entrepreneur entrepreneur and you're thinking about landing in a place where your family can thrive, where you can be surrounded by a great community, Austin brings that perspective, really a balanced lifestyle and a place that you can thrive. I think that ultimately, though, Austin and many other communities, the venture ecosystem in many ways is a bit immature, right? Sometimes you have an incubator or a startup accelerator or two, and you've got some venture capital firms who kind of come in maybe in the later stages, Series A or later. What I've found is that entrepreneurs need a lot of support, and they need that support to follow them along their journey as they're scaling up. And so one of the things that I'm doing at VUp is I'm helping entrepreneurs navigate those years in between an incubator or an accelerator and as they scale up to later stage in the VC funding. And so more people with expertise and mentorship capability that can be a supportive help to founders, I think it's critical.
Nice. And at Austin Technology Council, we touch everybody. We're a thread that runs through all of tech, from startup to the multinationals. But our focus isn't the startups. Our focus, we have Capital Factory and we have the Founders Institute and so many different groups that really support those pure startups. And then the large multinationals, they don't necessarily need us per se, but our focus is really those small and mid-sized growth-oriented companies. And you're right, you bring up a really interesting point is there seems to be less places for them to find mentorship and to meet each other. And that's what we're trying to do with Austin Technology Council is get people, involved there.
Yeah, that's why we're really excited to be able to be partnering with VUp. And I think they bring such a unique set of skills, opportunities, mentorship, and resources. And that goes right alongside with what I was saying was it's hard and it's meant to be hard, right? There's so few companies that make it. But I think if you can find a partner like VUp, then they can really be supportive and you'll have a better shot.
Nice. So, Ashley, I ask everyone who comes onto the show, my personal motto in life, I've been speaking about this for 20 years, is that community, collaboration, and conversations are the key to solving all problems. Which of those three words resonates with you the most and why?
I'm going to say community. And the reason is because I completely believe in relationship marketing and that, by just acknowledging who your influencers are and who you need to talk to, like just knowing the right people can do so much good. And especially in a city like Austin where those people already want to be helpful to you, if you can just find a way to connect with them, maybe you have a mutual or shared connection, it's just going to do so much for you personally and for your business.
Awesome. Mike, I'm going to ask you the same question. Community, collaboration, and conversation.
Yeah, I love Ashley's answer. Community would be my first choice, but to be different, I'm going to say conversations. And I'm going to put this in the context of person listening right now is, aspires to be an entrepreneur, aspires to be a founder, and they're looking for that advice to help get them going. And the conversations matter. Put yourself out there. Network. Go to events. Go to meetups. Go to conferences. Ask for help. Spark a conversation with someone. You never know what doors will open. And so absolutely, to me, that could be a real difference maker for someone today.
Nice. So last question is for Ashley. Ashley, if someone who you went to the University of Michigan with, go Big Blue, go Blue.
Go Blue.
If they were coming to visit you, they hadn't seen you in 6 years, and they came to Austin, where's the one place in Austin you would take them that says, this is Austin?
I love South Congress.
Don't we all?
And I just think it's such a unique place. It really does mix sort of the old and new of Austin together. And also, as a woman founder, just have so much admiration for Kendra Scott and the fact that, her headquarters is there and it just brings that history to, into that place. Like, I just think there's something so magical. There's also amazing food and great shopping, so you can't beat that. But I bring everybody that I meet to South Congress.
So I'm a big Gueros fan. That's where I take everybody, if they're from out of town. So that's a great choice. So Ashley Rose, congratulations on being the winner of the First Time Founder Award. We look forward to you being involved with the Austin Technology Council going forward. We hope you'll come next year to find out who the second winner will be in 2025. Any final words?
Yeah, I'd love to be here next year. I was actually thinking about that on my way home. I said, I hope I get invited and I can, we can start building our own community of first-time founder awards. No, I want to thank you so much for your work with the Austin Technology Council. I mean, you're doing so much good for our community. I think you've certainly had a hand in creating that reputation that I talked about earlier, like that I was drawn here for. So I thank you for helping me to be inspired to move here. And I just, want to continue to encourage the entrepreneurial ecosystem and those first-time founders that are out there.
So, and Mike, to you, thank you again to VUp for sponsoring this first time event. It's so hard to get sponsors when you're like, have an idea. It's just like, oh, I came up with this idea. Let's do it. People are like, well, we'll wait 2 or 3 years. Thank you for jumping in and supporting the first time founder part of this award. Any final words?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pleasure to do it. Our team was here and we loved meeting not only Ashley, but others and the other award recipients. And we'd love to do this again next year. But Tom, where do you think we go with this? This was our first time. What's your vision for this award ceremony in the future?
So I didn't know that ATC had done this in 2013 and inducted one person when I came up with the idea. I was actually out for a run and I was thinking, we need something new and fresh that can really celebrate the community. And my tagline, it's not the official tagline, but Tom Singer's tagline for ATC is, our job is to celebrate the past, be present in the now, and look to the future. And I came up with this idea of, why isn't there a Hall of Fame going back to the beginnings with George Kosmetsky and leading up through all the great entrepreneurs of today and tomorrow? Why isn't there something that happens year over year? But I knew instinctively that you can't start an event by saying, let's go to the Fairmont or let's rent out some big venue, because you have no idea if you're going to get sponsors and you have no idea how many people would show up and you don't know who's going to show up. I don't think in my wildest dreams I could have envisioned last night's crowd and all the people who were here.
It was so successful.
Yeah, but my idea was start small. So instead of renting an expensive place, we got one of our members, Calavista Software, to donate space. They could hold 200 people. We sold it out in 8 days. When
yes,
tickets
we did.
When tickets went for sale. But my idea is every year, slowly, not putting the cart before the horse, every year we continue to add 8 foundational legacy inductees, have a current inductee, and then have that first-time founder every single year, and every year maybe grow it a little bit. So next year I'd love to see if we could have 250 people, and maybe the next year we have 300 people, and then maybe 4 or 5 years down we do go to some place like the Four Seasons or the Fairmont or the JW Marriott, and we have a banquet that becomes a little bit like the Academy Awards of Austin Tech, where everybody, whether they're being inducted or not, wants to show up because they know it's the place to be, that says, we love this community, we want to be part of this community. And, I don't know that you're ever going to get Austinites black tie, but maybe we move it from like a casual cocktail party to maybe you have to put a suit on to come to this event.
Can you imagine that?
No, one person wore a tie last night. John Butler wore a tie last night.
It'd be a suit and cowboy boots.
Absolutely. Exactly. So, but that is my dream, that we grow it. And the only way it's going to happen, I say all the time, that the Austin Technology Council is a community group first. We're a membership group second. And if we do a good job of serving this community, companies will join, financially support us, and other companies will come and sponsor our events so that we can continue to do these things. So my dream for the event is we grow it slowly year over year. We're cautious not to go cart ahead of horse, but that the whole community says, boy, this Hall of Fame. And I envision it in 5 or 6 years when those 50 names that we could come up with, if we wrote them all down, Pike Powers, Carol Thompson, so many names of people who should be someday in the Hall of Fame.
Mark McLean.
I mean, the list is 50 or 60 people, easy, and maybe even larger, that all of them have been inducted. And then the Hall of Fame becomes a living organism, and we keep adding people year over year over year. And that, 10 years from now, people think the Austin Tech Hall of Fame has existed forever. That would be my dream.
I love it. I think that's a great vision, and would love to be a part of it going forward.
Nice. Well, thank you to both of you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Tom.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened. If it wasn't for the audience listening to the podcast, why would we even do the show? We started Austin Tech Connect about 1.5 years ago as a way to highlight really amazing people like Ashley Rose, who are doing things in this community, so that you could learn a little bit about their background, how they got started, and the vision of where their company's going. Because the more we know each other, the better off we are as a community. And podcasts are just one way to learn about people. And then you can show up and meet her at next year's event, and just say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. So please make sure you're telling all your friends about the podcast. Make sure everyone in your company is listening to Austin Tech Connect. And make sure, if you're a tech company, that your company is a member of the Austin Tech Austin Technology Council, and that you're supporting our mission. And for the service provider companies out there, we need you and we appreciate you. We need your sponsorship to be able to continue to grow all the events that we do. We have 2 events coming up in the fall. We have the Fall Tech Happy Hour, which is going to be sort of a mirror of our Gateway Happy Hour that we do in the spring. This is a new event. Last year we tested the water and had 80 people in a spot that held 80 people. So this year I think we can do like we do with Gateway and have several hundred. And then we also have our C-Suite Summit, which is a gathering of people who work in tech companies across the levels, from the C-suite to larger companies, of course, directors and VPs, to come together and talk about what's going on in Austin. I need your help. So we need the sponsorship of companies in this town. So please support us. Now's the time. We'll be back next week with another interview. So make sure that you're listening to Austin Tech Connect.
Thanks for listening to the Austin Tech Connect podcast. Make sure your company is a member of the Austin Technology Council and add your voice to the future of our tech ecosystem in Central Texas.